Greetings, I am Akiva K, Segan, and I am with the first drawing of the Human Rights Art Series called Sightseeing with Dignity. This drawing was done in 2003. It depicts Benjamin Hermansen, who is a black-skinned Norwegian youth who was knifed to death by racist skinheads in Oslo in 2001. A group called BootBoys, if my memory serves. When he was 14 years old, the year before, he was harassed by some racist, what we would call in American English, hooligans at a soccer match in Oslo, which greatly unsettled him. And he joined up with a kind of race hate education tolerance group of peers over the following year. And in 2001, he was knifed to death, as I mentioned, by the people in the BootBoys group, who I believe were in their late teens and early 20s, men and women, which, according to what I read on the internet, caused a great deal of consternation in Norway, which hadn't experienced this sort of race hate attack before. Benjamin's mother was white, Norwegian. His father was black, from Ghana originally. Benjamin was never outside of Norway. In doing the drawing, I did the drawing of him from several photographs I had printed from the internet. The unicorn-like creature was from my imagination. The feather here, drawn from a feather among different feathers and wings I have here at home in my art studio. And this plant form was from Florida, West Palm Beach. I like to pick up rock stones occasionally, dried plants and such. There are two of these things I picked up on a walk. My notes state, in dense growth area, a few hundred yards from beach, West Palm Beach, April 2003. I used to visit West Palm Beach over 22, 23 years during the years my mother lived there, and father for several years before he passed on. This also from West Palm Beach, which I drew here. I don't know what sort of plant it is. Actually, I don't know what sort of plant this one is either, but it worked well for here. The wing feathers I drew over here, this is ink and gouache, were actually drawn from this wing. I'm going to pan the camera around upside down here, which I had found on the floor in a vacated studio. We had a quake in Seattle on February 28th, 2001. We had several months to move all our stuff out. There were about 50 artists and photographers who were displaced by the quake. And I found this feather on the floor, brought it home, did the drawing of it here on the Hermansen piece, as I mentioned, in 2003. And in 2006, I had then two exhibits coming up. I was framing works for in January and February. And one first at Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, and then a month or two later at the Ames Library at Illinois Wesleyan University in Bloomington, Illinois. And I had this frame at home, which was actually too long for the piece. And then I decided, and I didn't have time to cut it down. I had to take it to a frame shop, have the metal section chopped and all that. I ended up gluing the actual feather down here. And then it works well in terms of discussion when I'm leading tours and groups, classes, and so on during at exhibits. So that's why that is in there. It's the only actual wing which gets exhibited so far during exhibits of the Under the Wings of God, Holocaust, and Sightseeing with Dignity Art Series works. I believe there is a fund one can donate to on the internet, which was dedicated to racial tolerance in memory of Benjamin Hermansen. I recommend people bring up his name and look for that and donate as they can. The last section I drew here was in the lower left. I was trying to think of what would tie my life to his. Growing up in different countries, different generations, speaking different languages, and I was looking around my apartment studio at the time, which was in Seattle's Pike Market. I finally saw something which would make me, let's see, I would have been 53 at the time. Benjamin Hermansen died when he was 15, 2 years earlier in 2001. But there was a connection, a thread I felt between his life and my life, something we would have in common, which people, different generations have in common worldwide. And I drew that here. I'll let people see if they can figure out what it is.